This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, June 26th, 2018, episode 180. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We're bringing you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig or visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Joining me with a new and improved camera angle, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Let me look towards you, Brian. Hey, Brian, how are you? You're muted because you're an amateur and you're muting your microphone. This is ridiculous.
I know what you're talking about.
No, I mean, this is, come on, Brian. This is podcasting. We're like every other podcast right here. We're like every other podcast right now. I
can't believe you muted me.
You were the worst. You were the worst. You were literally the worst. You're the worst host I've ever worked with.
All right.
What's going on, Brian? How are you?
I am doing great. If you want to find me on the internet at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go to our website. On there, we have links to all of our past show notes. We are now on episode 180. So there's 180 plus. We have a few extra episodes in there of past show notes. We also have on there links to our Twitch channel, which we're doing live right now, but perhaps you're listening to an audio only form. Maybe you're listening to or watching this on YouTube. But we are at 7 o'clock Eastern every Tuesday night. We are live, so come and join us, and you can be a part of the conversation. Also, we have a link to our YouTube on there, our audio-only form. So whatever platform you listen to, we should have a link on there. Also, our Discord, which is where we kind of communicate throughout the week. It's a great way if you want to give some news suggestions. We have that right in the news channel on our Discord. And also, as people play games, they jump into channels and hang out and just talk about all kinds of stuff throughout the week. And then we have our Steam group. If you want a little notification before the show starts, we do that probably about 10, 15 minutes before the show starts. A little pop-up comes up, and it'll remind you that we're getting ready to go live. So that's the main use of that. I think that's all my self-promotion.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Brian. Let's see. I guess we'll do a quick recap of last week's game of the week. Yes. Which was Rocket League, which specifically your wife had a very good time with. We had a full group. We were doing full 4v4s for going on almost 4 hours, I think.
Yeah, and we played a little bit of board game simulator afterwards.
We did. What did we play? We played Spyfall.
Tabletop. I keep calling it board game simulator. Tabletop simulator.
We played Spyfall.
Spyfall.
Which we had too many people, I think, to play Spyfall.
It was pretty difficult because you couldn't, like, by the end you gave away so many hints, like it was just really hard to figure out.
Yes, and when you get very lucky on your guesses, you know, it tends to work out like that. So we played that last week, always a good game. And coming up this week, I will be out of town Friday, but the show will go. Well, the game of the week will go on rather. What are we playing this week, or what are you guys playing this week?
Well, I'm kind of open to whatever, but I was thinking of Tabletop Simulator, maybe because people always say, oh, you know, I don't have it. It's on sale right now, and it's a game that we play pretty regularly. But there's so many games on sale this week. I'm kind of open. So maybe through the show, if people have a better suggestion, they're welcome to give it. Okay. And by the end, we will settle on it for sure. But I'm leaning towards Tabletop Simulator because we generally don't do that on a Friday night game night. We do that on Saturdays and things like that. But if someone either comes up with one that's, hey, usually we don't play this because it's not on sale and it's expensive, and then give a suggestion, or, you know, maybe there's a free weekend for a game. I just didn't see any at the time.
Well, we are in the midst of a Steam sale, the annual, as what they're calling their Intergalactic Summer Sale, which runs until July 5th, which will be actually through next week's show. So we'll do another show. And next week, we'll do we'll compile a list of games and stuff like that. I'm going to be honest with you. These Steam sales recently have sucked. Big time. It's the same.
I haven't purchased a single game yet.
It's the same game. I mean, I've got games on my wish list, and it's just the same games on sale for the winter sale, the spring sale, the summer sale. It's the same games. The one thing is DLC for games is super heavily discounted. So if you're looking for DLC for a game, that's probably the time to get it. But I mean, I was scrolling through the list. When did this start? Let's see. It started the 21st. This was last Thursday. It was in the middle of the day, probably 12 or 1 o'clock Eastern when it started. And it was just like, none of these, like, the sales are decent. Like, for example, Rocket League is on sale 50% off, $10, but everybody owns Rocket League. I looked at my wish list.
One thing is, if you don't own, like, 7 Days to Die, if you don't own that, I would pick it up, because as soon as it releases, we will be doing probably a week at least of 7 Days to Die on the server. So
yeah, and there's games on
$8.99 right now. $8.99. So if you don't own it, grab it.
Well, so this is what we'll do. I've actually probably got a similar list from last year. If you head on over to the website, infectionpodcast.com, after the show here live, I'll compile a list of games that are on sale. We'll put some stuff on Twitter throughout the week. They don't do flash sales anymore, which kind of suck. Those were the cool things.
Those are the ones that got me and made me spend too much money.
Yeah, well, and the flash sales were good. You could get something dirt cheap for an hour. But thanks to chargebacks and people being jackasses, they no longer have that as an option. So kind of got the same selection of games. There's a whole bunch of good stuff on here if you're interested, but none of it was really super compelling to me. Terraria is on sale for $5. I don't know if that is an interest to people. Miscreated is on sale, stuff like that. That we'll get into.
It's 50% off right now.
So there's some of the stuff. Go check it out. It's the Steam sale. The Steam Link was on sale for $2.50. It still is.
How much for shipping?
$7, so $10 for the whole thing. I think you can run Linux on it and use it as like a Raspberry Pi sort of device.
You can use it to stream your desktop.
Yeah, you could do
somewhere else.
Yeah, you could do a bunch of stuff with it. It runs a full. I mean, it runs. I believe it's a Debian-based Linux distribution that it runs, and I think you can put anything you want on it. So
yeah, you can hook up a keyboard and mouse up to it. I mean, you can pretty much just run it like a little computer.
Yeah, you could run it as a little computer for $10. It's not the fastest CPU. It's an Atom-based CPU, but it runs. You can run Linux on it, and if you want to have a cheap little, I don't know, security camera or something like that, you can hook a webcam up to it, and it's cheaper. Sure as hell cheaper than a Raspberry Pi, and it comes in a case. So you can go ahead and check that out. Controllers on sale, which I have heard mixed reviews on. So I guess that's about it. What's been going on in your world, Brian? Anything of significance?
Man, I was sick this past week. So there was and it was kind of weird. It wasn't like the flu, but I just felt kind of dizzy, and like it would come and go, different things. So I was dizzy one time, and then coughing, and just throughout the whole week, I just kind of felt lousy. And so yesterday I started feel pretty good. And then last night, like, I started coughing again. So I don't know. I thought I was over it. But we'll see.
So summertime blues. This was as they call it. Maybe you got a case of this.
I don't know what it is. I don't feel like the flu. I don't feel like I'm going to puke.
Maybe you were just really anxious to do the podcast. You ever thought about that?
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I mean, it's happened to people before. What can I say?
Well, it started after last week's show. So
last week's show was very good. We got a lot of positive comments. Jens Eric was on the show last week. We got a lot of positive comments, and maybe some new. I think we got some new listeners according to our YouTube statistics. So welcome to all of you who found our episode last week through Conan Exiles and Jens Eric, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. We talk about a whole bunch of survival games. So I guess we've beaten around the bush long enough here. 10 minutes into the program, I've got a whole list of notes up here, Brian. Where shall we start?
Well, let's go ahead and jump into Miscreated a little bit here. I hinted that it is right now 50% off. So they just released patch 60, and of course summer sales going on. So you can get this for $12.49. And one big thing about this patch is they're finally addressing the thing that we have been harassing or just complaining about this game for, I guess, since we started playing it.
Yeah.
But just the issues of storage. That's something that they've been working on in the background. I'm not sure. They are using CryEngine, and CryEngine is generally not a online many player type of a game. They've done a lot of things to try to get around and fix some of those issues. Storage was something that for some reason they really struggled with.
It was
sure why.
non-existent. They had it was very difficult to find a blueprint. I think that's what they call them, blueprints, for a storage chest. And once you found one, it was 8, 12, maybe 16 storage slots, not a lot. And that was for the entire group of people you were playing with. If you play solo, 16's all right. If you, like us, and play in a group of 8, 16 slots you might as well not have it at all. It's so useless. And this has been an ongoing issue.
We found that we could barely put anything in there. And they had it to where if initially when you started out, you could put one little box in a whole base for a group. And what was it, 8 slots or something for that one box. And so it was really unusable. I mean, there was no real point in putting it, and you just put a few things in there and it was full. And then the base rating system was horrible. People were chopping down doors with axes and things like that, which I understand is how real life would be. Someone takes an axe, chops down a door, but it is frustrating when you can't be there all the time. And so people just would go around and get in your bases. So to solve that, we talked about this a little bit last week, but they've placed these kiosks around the map, and you're able to go to these and store and retrieve items to and from your Steam inventory. So this is something that you'll have to use these little coins. Are they calling them AM coins? I think.
Yeah,
I assume that's
AM coins, I believe is what they're called.
And now this is Amalgamated is the brand of this, so that must be what these AM coins are. So AM coins,
and they go through this process. So I do want to quickly refer back to. So we talked about this last week. We actually had a comment on YouTube regarding the storage of stuff in Miscreated, and in addition to the kiosks, they will have 4 small crates and 2 big crates. So you can have a total of 90 storage slots if you have all of those, in addition to the kiosks. Now, the kiosks are interesting. I don't believe we had all these details last week when we talked about it.
No, they were just talking about what it was going to be. This is the actual patch.
So that
came out this past week.
So they've explained a little bit of how this is going to work. So as Brian mentioned, these AM coins will be used as an in-game currency, which you only find with loot. You can't buy them. You have to loot these coins, and the AM coins are used to store and retrieve things from the kiosk. So it costs a certain amount of coins, in-game currency, to store an assault rifle, or a water jug, or ammo, or a flare gun, whatever it may be. And each different item has got a specific amount that it costs to store it, and then another amount to retrieve that same item, which is a little bit different than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was just going to be 8 slots per, player. Like, oh, you can just store 8 things, you're good to go.
But the thing is I understand why they're doing it, because they're wanting to prevent someone from creating, I guess, mule accounts, or what we called in WoW guild bankers, or bankers. And so they want to prevent people from, maybe even during Steam sales like this, buying multiple copies, logging in, and just storing items from a server. On here, to get these coins, you actually have to play. So you can't just build up and get a bunch of these in mass. You will have to go through and play on that server to get enough coins to be able to deposit and withdraw things from this. So, people aren't going to be coming in here for the first time, if they haven't played at all, going in and then, finding things and instantly storing them. You'll have to play, gather these things up. So I understand that they're wanting to reward people who play, which I promote that. And thank you. We actually got a subscription from Zerai.
It's a cheer.
Well, before that was a subscription as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for the subscription. That's my friend Dave, who's listening to the show. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Dave.
Hi, Dave. So I can see how they're doing this, and I see why they're doing it. let's just finish with the details because I've got a strong opinion on this. They've got a couple of things. So damaged items cannot be stored. Yeah, it has to be in full. It has to be 100% health, and right now they do not have a way to repair items. So and store them, repair them, and store them. So that has to be at 100% health, or you can't store it. Only empty magazines can be stored in the kiosks. You have to unload the ammunition first, then store the magazine and the ammo separately, meaning that it costs however many AM coins to store the magazine and the bullets, and then to take them out.
Now, I don't think they have a mag repacker, what is what they call it in Arma. But you can actually pack the ammo and make it so that you have a full magazine again.
Yeah.
So, actually, you would think they would. If you're having to empty these things, then I think they have implemented that you can actually reload these things. So they want you to empty them, and then when you get them back out, you can refill all your.
But my point is, it costs coins to store those two things separately, and it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I would describe this, but you've got to pay to store the ammo and then pay to store whatever else it may be. So they've got that. You can. Let's see. There was something about here that I can't find now. It only allows you to store up to one stack of something. So if the stack is, you can see that based in Steam. So as large as a stack is of ammo or food or whatever you're storing, you can store up to one stack of it. And you can see everything in there in your Steam. It's storing it through Steam's library, or what is it called? Steam's inventory. I'm sorry, is what it's stored on. So you can view it at any time as long as you're out there. And these are going to introduce some areas across the map that'll be some fire points. You'll have some areas where you'll have high traffic of people trying to get their items in and out. But let me give you my opinion on this, Brian. This seems more like a duct tape solution to a leaky pipe. Like, hey, the water's not flowing quite so bad now. Like, my apartment isn't going to flood right now, but over the next week, it's going to fill with water and all my stuff is going to be destroyed. Yeah. Do you feel the same way? This just seems like a really... not half-assed is not the word to use, because I don't think that they've not implemented it properly. This just seems like a kind of just what's the stuff that you put on a flat tire if you fix a flat or whatever it is.
Fix a flat.
Fix a flat. Something you just put on there real quick to get to the tire shop to get a new tire. You wouldn't use this every day. That's how I feel this is. Seems incredibly convoluted and complicated.
Yeah, you would. So the thing is you can store all these little weird items. I would rather personally, it's great that they have made it so you can do so many items, but it seems like it would make more sense if the only things that you put into here were either cosmetics or big items, like items that, like a gun. Why are you going to be storing food? Why allow food and all these other things to go into this? I think it's kind of strange, but is the issue with their software and with CryEngine that bad to where this is needed?
Yes,
or did they
clearly.
is that...
Why are they using Steam's inventory? I mean, why aren't they just doing their own server side or, and this is because they want people to go cross server, but why would they not just have their own key? Doesn't Rust have something similar?
How much money do you think they're really bringing in though?
I mean, I don't know how much they're bringing, but they're already paying for servers. So they've got the capability to store a database somewhere to keep track of people's items.
But I think that with this game, it's not bringing in a huge amount of money this is now guess. This is what I gather from looking at the player base. It's not like this is PUBG, that was in its heyday and selling tons of copies.
Still charging for
this. Yeah, and this we'll get to that.
Sorry.
This is something where it's money kind of comes in over time. People are just picking this up every once in a while, and so I don't think it's enough to hire this full staff all the time to make improvements. A huge amount of people. So personally, I think that for them, if they would look at it as, well, if we buy servers, then it's going to be more monthly cost. And we're not guaranteed that money is going to continue coming in on this game in enough to justify it. They don't want to get themselves locked into I think, a long-term commitment. And putting a server on there that's then tracking all these items, once you do that, you have to keep it up forever. Here, Steam is responsible for that. They don't have to do anything on their side. They can just let it go, and as long as somebody's even hosting a private server of this game, they'll still be able to use this, because the kiosks do work with private servers.
They do.
So
I'm trying to.
How's that work? Are people able to spawn in? Like, how are they protecting that people aren't be able to get their own server and get a bunch of things and then store them? And somehow.
Well, there's not, but you're gonna have to go. I mean, you're gonna have to go through and play the game enough to get these coins.
Purchase them out. Anyways,
yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to.
If you went to another server.
Yeah, exactly, you're gonna have to. According to this, right before Steam Spy shut their stuff off, it looked like they had about 850 or so thousand owners of the game before Steam Spy, kind of shut all that information off. So, close to a million copies sold of the game. A lot of it, I would assume, on sale like this, $12. I don't know if, I think we've said on this show, without a doubt, the biggest issue with Miscreated is storage. You cannot store your items. And it's not just us. The community has been very vocal, very active, pushing for storage, pushing for some way to store your items. Is this that solution that people were looking for? My personal opinion is not. I'm no enthusiast of Miscreated.
Encourage bases. I mean, that's the thing is, I've always wanted something that encouraged base building and encouraged group activities, and I feel like this doesn't do that. So this still encourages that single player type of mentality. It also works with, you can drag one of these things back to your base with a vehicle, but it's not enhancing the group play and the reason to have a base type of thing at all. I mean, I just don't see it solving that problem. I would rather have them make it to where, okay, in a base, you can store tons of items and, all these things are improving the base capabilities, because then people will get on and play as a group. Right now, there's still no reason to play on as a group.
So, that's kind of, you and I are saying the same thing, which you're saying this. My opinion is I don't like the system. Your opinion is the system's all right, but it doesn't encourage what needs to be encouraged
to get people to play this game again. So I would say the bases, and that by that I mean also storage, and the gun mechanics for this game are what I struggle with. It doesn't have rewarding gunplay in it. The guns feel very awkward to shoot and I mean, even trying to make sure your gun is loaded. I've run into issues where it's like, how many bullets do I have? Okay,
no idea.
This magazine has this many. Oh, this other magazine has this many bullets, and it just is a big mess.
Yeah.
And it's like I had to figure out. It's like a game, just trying to figure out how I can reload a clip to be able to have ammo in my weapon again.
And a couple comments.
So I don't know. That still is storage.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple comments here from the Twitch chat, and we're also streaming on YouTube as well. So welcome to all the people watching over there on YouTube. Cabbeat says, I like Miscreated, but it's dead. Joe says the game has taken too long to add features. It's old and stale. And I think that's an accurate assessment of it. It's this storage issue. I mean, I don't remember when we had, I believe his name was Marco from Miscreated. Did we have him on?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
I don't remember how long ago we had him on. It was over a year ago. Way over a year ago. And I remember we talked about it then. And we're still talking about it now. And now it's just being implemented in this patch 60. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bash the developers of the game. But I just don't, you know what, here we go. This feels very Daybreak-y to me. This feels very like, oh my God, we've got, even though it's been an issue forever, but we've got an issue. What is the
cheapest?
No, I don't even know.
I'm not going to say easiest, because this is probably very difficult to implement in the way they did.
Absolutely. It seems half-assed, Brian. That's the only word I can use to describe it. It's half-assed. It's not, You have a massive... When Daybreak had an issue with vehicles, their solution was to just get rid of the vehicle, not to fix it. Miscreated has a storage issue where people in the bases can't store anything, so they start relying on Steam's inventory and a kiosk that you have to pay to store things. It's not solving... The problem was storage, specifically base storage. Storing
they
things
did a little bit. Do you think they took away some of the, I guess, bravado of this, because they increased the crate? The large crate now, as you were saying earlier, holds more. It holds 25 slots rather than 20.
Yeah.
And then with a small storage crate, you can store 4 of them rather than 1, like the old system. And you can have 2 large crates rather than 1. So in a base, you could get that 50 slots. And then how many slots
90,
are in
you
a
can
small
have 90 total.
So
According to this YouTube comment. I mean,
this is compared to what, 35 before? I think
I guess so.
or 30, sorry, 30. 30
before,
was
okay.
how many you could store 30 items if you had the small crate and the large crate in a base.
Well, yes, but
So
okay,
from 30 to 90.
But I don't think this solves the problem.
But it's still not enough for a large group of people.
You remember how hard it was to find that blueprint?
Yeah.
Do you remember how hard and how complicated it was to find that blueprint? I mean, we played for hours, and we've played the game a couple of times. I believe we've only found it once.
Yeah.
Once. We've played probably 3 or 4 times, and I don't think we found it every single time we've played.
No.
So it's incredibly hard to get these things.
One thing, now to address that, you will now, let's get your take on whether this is positive. You will now be able to trade recipes, the blueprints on the Steam market. So people will be able to trade, which means purchase, right?
Yeah.
Blueprints. Yeah. I mean, do you think that is a positive?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No, absolutely not.
Because they're saying that there's a way that you'll be able to kind of make money off of some of the skins, some of the items like
only cosmetic items.
Yeah, cosmetic items and recipes. So you'll be able to go on there, gather those things, and then sell them. So I don't know. I mean, this is an improvement. They did add some other things. One thing I saw that was on a YouTube video somewhere is they added these kind of hidey holes. There's things that are hidden throughout the game. So if you run around, like the one I had seen was behind a picture frame. There are items hidden back there now. They added a jet ski, which I saw some video of, and it looks great. I mean, as far as the graphics of it, the effects on the water, it looks really good. Like they did a really good job of that. In this game, the thing is, it's so beautiful that I just wish some of these things were a little bit better. Like I wish the gun mechanics and the movements were good. And I wish that the base building and the storage and the way the clans work was really good.
I am convinced that with enough, I think the ship may have already sailed, but with enough TLC in the past couple of years, Miscreated could have been the survival experience that H1Z1 was proclaimed to be.
Yeah.
It had
was
all
a much
of the
better
base
environment.
mechanics. Oh, it had all the base mechanics. All they had to do was...
They have a very flexible base building system, but it's so difficult to make anything.
Yeah, and part of it is, and we've gotten criticized for this in the past, Brian, and I think it's a valid criticism, is, all right, well, you guys are just looking for the quick high. You're looking to hop into the game for 4 hours and, have some massive base. And I think there's some validity to that. I have a full-time job. You're a student. Most of the people in our Discord are either in school or work or live in crazy other time zones where, their hours that overlap are very limited. So you're absolutely correct. I'm looking for a quick high when it comes to these games. And I think there's a fine line between quick high and so freaking hard that if I invest 6 hours, I might as well have not even played in terms of what I have at the end of it. And Miscreated is very close to that. It is a very hardcore survival game. And there's not that there's not room for that. DayZ is a great example of the DayZ standalone is a very hardcore survival game. And it's the reason that we don't bother playing it, because every time we play it, it's a disaster for our group because we're looking for that quick high. Miscreated is very close to that. I think they straddle the line between quick, high, and hardcore survival.
But I think if they could just polish, if they would have polished in those few areas at the right time,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think they could have brought so many more people in. The thing is you can make a game as beautiful as you want, but if you get in there and it's just buggy and it's a pain to maneuver and to do all those things, then it's just I don't think it's enough. Like that they didn't do it quite enough in those areas, and I think personally, I think that the character movement is one of the things that drives people away immediately. Like when you go around and you just feel clunky, people don't want to play it. So I think that for them, I don't know if it's just they don't have a person who's full time to work on that, if it was never a priority, or if they just felt like it was fine. Like I don't know what happened at the background to where that, because it's not really changed in the years that we've played it. I mean, it seems like it's the exact same system from the first time we played.
It is very
So
similar.
it hasn't been improved whatsoever. I mean, I can't think of any major improvements that they've done to the movement system.
I think there's a lot of stuff they can work on. I do want to say that this is I'm reading through the Steam comments. This is a vast improvement to what is in the game right now. And hopefully this is a good stepping stone, maybe, to a more extensive, more I don't know what word I'd use, a more expansive base building system or storage system in the future with bases, because I think that's the key. Nobody wants to run to a kiosk to get their items. I think you're going to find out real quick that these locations are just going to become hell on earth.
Well, and you can bring that kiosk back. You can bring a kiosk back to your base.
A kiosk,
so,
yes. But you have to build it, I believe.
No. So you find it around the map, and you have to use a vehicle to drag it.
Interesting. Okay.
So you get it back to your base, and then you'll have one. But so this is rewarding those very dedicated players.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a change. It's update number 60. The game is on sale. So if you've never played, I would say it's a total buy. I think for $12.50, it's definitely a buy. The game is a lot of fun. It's beautiful. The landscape is beautiful. The weather system is incredible. Base building is really good. Zombies are really good. It's a great deal for $12.50.
We enjoy for the price. It's good. But is for a large group of people, for an individual single player, these things aren't limiting you. Like that's kind of what this game seems like it's tailored for. But when we go and play, we're looking for that major, group enhanced type of a feel where we want having a ton of players that we're feeling rewarded because we have so many people working on one thing.
Arc.
This game does not reward, Arc, or 7 Days to Die, where you can build these major bases and you can store all these items and you have all these things and it's all great. This game does not reward you for having multiple people at all. So I think that's what we found frustrating.
I highly recommend to go check it out. Miscreated.
Yes. So are we all right with, there's a video. I don't know if you mind playing this video. It's like a 4-minute video.
Sure. For what game?
All right. So Dead Matter. This is a game that I'd interviewed one of the developers, and they came on and they had done a Kickstarter originally. And this was one where they were not asking for that much money. They were asking for kind of a small amount of money, and their Kickstarter really took off. And so I'll make some comments on that after this video, but I just want people to see this. And if you're listening to this, you will talk throughout the whole thing. But I would encourage you to come and check out our show notes and watch the full video of this so you can see the visuals of it when you have a chance. But let's go ahead and play that, and then I'll give some comments.
All right. Well, this is Dead Matter Devlog number 1.
Hey, welcome to the first Dead Matter vlog. This vlog covers development from roughly the start of May to about mid-June. Our first trailer was released mainly teasing our vehicles and gunplay. We aimed to make our vehicles and our gunplay a significant improvement over the last trailer that we released. We will be releasing a survival trailer before our closed Q4 alpha test, which will demonstrate the abilities needed to survive in Dead Matter. To start off, the code side of things have been very active this last month. We've got an improved zombie behavior based on feedback from our last trailer. We've also tweaked some of their animations. Now, instead of zombies taking long journeys around fences, they will actually try to attack you over the fence. They will now knock over cones and other construction signs if there isn't a way to walk around them. This will allow the undead to have easier access to you at any time. We've also improved some of their flocking behaviors. You will not be safe on top of a car or inside of an unbarricaded building. Our lead 3D artist, Shirk, has replaced all of our roads with new ones that look and run much better than our old ones. Our new roads are sleek and also blend perfectly into the terrain. Shirk has also been hard at work, bringing us some new foliage. All of our placeholder trees have been swapped out for prettier ones that Shirk made himself. He's even gone and added some new grass and bushes that get pushed away when objects are nearby. This includes players. The feature is still early in development, but once we iron out the kinks, we fully intend on players leaving a trail of flattened grass behind them as they run through the fields. Shirk has been working on some train cars as well as bringing our season cycle and weather to life with some brand new visual effects. Our seasons and weather are currently tied into the gameplay code. We aim to make winter a challenge in Dead Matter. Your character will be cold. You will have limited food and limited visibility. Plan accordingly. Since the trailer, I've been working on cleaning up the zombie AI and making hordes feel a lot smoother than they did before. We also upgraded some of their animations and got rid of the goofy looking ones. Our zombies are coded to be extremely efficient networking wise. This allows us to have a large amount of zombies even in our PvP multiplayer modes. Zombie damage is currently disabled in order to allow us to test their new animations for attacking. We've also received some feedback regarding the shading on our weapons, as well as our weapon animations. We're also in the process of redoing the shading on our weapons, in order to bring out all of the detail put into them by Dusty. We've also got a new animator on the team. Here's a test he did for us. We plan on bringing in proper melee combat as soon as we can, with the help of our new animator. Nomad has been in the ongoing process of cleaning up and bringing in some third-party vehicle meshes. We intend to make a majority of these new vehicles usable by closed alpha. However, aircraft are currently low priority and may not make it for the closed alpha. We also intend to make static or non-functioning vehicles easily distinguishable from drivable vehicles. Nomad has also created some new highway props as well as signs to help populate our world. He's also created a church which will serve as an AI settlement. Shirk also brought in a set of modular houses that include some basements. These will serve some gameplay purposes, such as being a cool place to store fruit and vegetables during the summer. Our character artist, Dogtooth CG, has been working on the base female and base male models. Our new player meshes are fully equipped for in-depth customization, including eye color, hair, facial features, and much more. Unfortunately, he's been out of commission for about a month due to a hardware failure, so this teaser is all we have for now. We are now opening our Quantum Cowboy applications at playdeadmatter.com/partner. Our partner program is designed to connect us with influencers that are interested in helping us. We would also like to announce that backing will be replaced with pre-orders via Steam on November 1st. We will be adding a timer to our store in order to reflect this. If you've liked what you've seen, please consider backing Dead Matter on our website or Indiegogo. Both links are in the description. If you don't feel like becoming a beautiful backer just yet, then feel free to follow us on Twitter and Facebook in order to get all the latest development updates. We also have a Discord server where we regularly interact with our community. We encourage everyone, including those that are just curious about Dead Matter, to join it. Thanks for checking out the first of many vlogs to come. We look forward to showing off Dead Matter as it continues to grow as a game, and we hope that you'll be watching. Until then, good luck out there.
All right, and that's a quick video there from Dead Matter. This game looks like it's got a lot of potential here, Brian.
Yes. So originally, my concern was when they first did their fundraising.
Yep.
That they weren't asking for that much. They had in their original videos and things that they were showing a lot of marketplace content, and I was really concerned that it was going to be an asset flip type of a game. And one thing
hold
is,
on, you need to explain that. I mean, I know what that is, and maybe people that have worked closely with, maybe people that have backed a lot of games. What does that mean? What does it mean when you do an asset flip?
so what people will do is they will go and buy a project off of maybe it's Unity store or Unreal store that is, let's say, survival game. Maybe it's called survival game.
Now when you
And
say
it has,
project, it's maps, it's vehicles, it's zombies, it's
pretty much
weapons.
the basics, the minimum required to kind of start. It's supposed to be a launching pad. It's supposed to be what you start with to be able to build a survival game. And so it has kind of just everything somewhat working. The code's generally there. Like it'll have a hunger thirst system. It'll have, whatever things they might include in there. So people who don't know anything about programming or anything like that will go and buy this project,
Training wheels.
and then and then they'll pretty much release a game that's very little change from that. They'll publish it and try to sell it on Steam, and all it is maybe that game with a few items added in. No major changes, no different. And it's really an asset flip. And almost everything is identical to what they've purchased off of the store. Now, one thing that PUBG did in this past couple of weeks is they were defending, because people were saying, well, you still have some items that were from the Unreal Marketplace in your game. And they came out and said, it's the Unreal Marketplace is a tool. It's something that helps people to develop and get things out quickly, which I totally support. I don't mind having a game, but the thing is when you get to where you are that popular, that's the point where you need to not do that, because then everybody associates that, let's say, for instance, the med kits and the ammo boxes that you see in PUBG, those are straight from the asset store, unchanged. They didn't redo the brands. They didn't redo any of the coloring. It's identical. Now, any game that comes out and uses that, maybe it's a small team, they use that, then everybody's going to be assuming that they stole it from PUBG, when really PUBG's bought it, and they never bothered to change it. So that's my issue with it. It's not that developers use it, but when you sell 1 million copies, 2 million, 3 million copies,
it becomes your asset.
Yes, that's where I expect you to go in and pay one of your designers $10, whatever, for, somebody, you could go pay some side developer $10 and they probably throw you together a quick little label for that thing. You could go on Fiverr and get a free label. They didn't even bother to do that. I mean, you don't have to redo the whole graphic, but at least change the brand, like change it to where it's not instantly recognizable, because that ruins it for all these small developers that are wanting to, then they don't have the staff, they don't have all the designers and all those things, and they're trying to get together a prototype, and then they're like, oh, I had to change out all these items because this is the same as this is in this game, and this. So that was my concern. Now, one thing that the project lead for Dead Matter had said, and I saw this in a tweet, is he was actually giving PUBG a bad time about this, because he was like, you've sold, you've made this amount of money, and you guys haven't even bothered to change out your assets. And so that's where I want to give this guy props, because I was worried that he was just going to have pretty much half of the game be stuff from the market, and then and then add some things to it, which is fine. But that's what I was my concern about the game, and what it really looks like he's doing, and he's going out and actually, because he's got a much larger budget than he expected, he is going above and beyond to make everything his own, so that he has a unique game that doesn't look like an asset flip.
Now, GOTW in the chat is saying the house looks like the Dead Linger houses. So is it?
Yes.
Those are probably something that were purchased and they haven't done a whole lot of tweaking to.
Yes. So that's the thing, is I look through and I know the Unreal Marketplace very well. And so
you're an expert.
I see a lot of items on there that are still from the marketplace. But one thing I do appreciate is he went out and changed his trees. He's changing the landscape, the grass. I'm assuming they'll kind of redo some of the buildings, because right now they're using a pack for buildings, which is very identifiable. There's things that they can do to make those more their own, so they're not. Well, I mean, one thing is you'll have a material. So let's just break this down really quick. When you have your asset, and then what makes it have the textures and the look, it may be a flat wall, but if you throw a brick on there, then it's now a brick wall, right? It's just a texture. And so on here, they could go through, and even if they keep the same shapes, if they went in and did their own textures for this and their own materials, it would look enough different to where it wouldn't be like, oh, okay, now that looks like that was from this other game, because they're going to still run into that until they swap all those out. I'm hoping that, this game, if they become, that was just the Kickstarter that they were more successful in. If they continue and put out a very good game, I'm hoping that then they turn around, sell a bunch of copies, and then they continue to swap those out and make this much more of a unique game. It's tough because they made a decent, they made a decent amount of money, but that only goes so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you're still trying to stretch that as far as you can and get the most out of it. And it's not like, okay, well, our buildings are fine. You're going to still, right at this moment, be like, we need to create new assets. We need to be doing major things. Kind of tweaking the way the buildings look is going to be a kind of farther out priority.
You can very easily
I understand.
Piss away money when you've got nothing coming in, which is pretty much what they've got now that they've still got some backers coming in. You can still
they've got to work off the money that they got from Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Until they have a release where people are going to start purchasing it, that there's not a huge amount of money coming in. Yeah. So that's what they need to get past.
I think that's interesting.
But they are doing this is what I was hoping he would do, and so far it looks like he's doing it. So I just one thing, and that's one main reason I wanted to show that video, is because I wanted to give him a little bit of props. That if I remember correctly, I did back this game. I am a backer, so when it comes out, I will have access to it. But this is something I think, if he continues at this pace, I think we're going to have a decent game at that point. I don't think it's going to be a lot of players online. It's going to be kind of a smaller online, not 100 people per server, but we'll see what happens. I think it's more trying to have a customized small group of players it's you against the world and the zombies, not you against other players, is the focus.
And I see they've got a partner program, which I guess we should probably find some more information out, since we've already had, you already interviewed. Did you interview the guy that was doing that video?
Yeah, the guy who's talking. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know his name off the top of your head?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, nevertheless, we'll they mentioned that partner program. We'll get in touch with them and bring because that is another one of these games that, done properly, I think can be I don't know what to say to describe our ideal survival game, but our ideal survival game. Yeah. The game that we've been looking for, with a solid base building system, AI that's good but doesn't make the game unplayable, storage, a guild or clan system. I mean, it's not many things. It's just a couple of big things. I mean, vehicles, honestly, I don't even care about vehicles. I don't think that's a necessary thing depending on map size. You don't even have to have vehicles, to be honest with you.
Well, he's talking about having plane or aircraft.
But I'm saying, like, I think our list of what we think of an ideal survival game, I don't think vehicles is a must-have on that list. But I do think
Ark was great, but the thing is, we played the snot out of it.
Yeah, but I just think decent base building system, some type of clan or guild group system, obviously storage, and then decent AI.
Not catered 100% to trolls.
Absolutely. Some type of melee system that is decent if you don't have a gun. I mean, that's what I think. That doesn't seem like that's impossible.
Well, and that's the thing is at some point, I don't know that Mavericks is going to be that game, but there's going to be one that comes out. Right now, we're kind of in a lull. Everybody's been pushing so hard towards battle royale, everything. And
you predicted that.
I think after a while, you hit that, and you're like, it's another battle royale game.
Yeah.
Right. I think that there's a point where people are like, I want to have something different. And right now, survival kind of seems different. You wouldn't think, like, because all these battle royale games were supposed to be survival, but they're not.
Yeah.
I think people are now waiting again for a survival game that we've been being promised for a long time. We thought that that was going to be with the original H1Z1, and it wasn't. So I think people are still waiting for a real survival
It's
game.
it's crazy because you can literally, since 2012, we're 6 years since the original 2011, 2012, when the original DayZ mod came out for Arma, and the whole zombie thing was really sparked. War Z followed it very quick after, was an abysmal failure. Then you had a couple things in between. H1Z1 was going to revolutionize the world. It's been 6-7 years, and nobody has really been able to perfect that. And you do have to remember, Smedley's studio at Amazon is in full force, and it is possible. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be. He hasn't made a hint that it is or isn't, but this whole thing, H1Z1 was all spawned of, this was all his child. H1Z1 was his baby. So it would not be crazy for me to think that his studio over there at Amazon could come out with a survival game, and money sure as hell won't be a problem.
No, not with Amazon.
So that's, I mean, we may have a new contender here shortly with the survival game. I don't know if he will do that. His previous company was going away from that. They were doing pixel-based games. I don't remember what it was. Pixel Mage. I don't remember the name of the company. Pixel Image, something like that.
No, but Pixel Mage, I think.
Pixel Mage. Okay. So we're still waiting. I mean, so there is still a need and a void for an actual, like, MMO survival zombie game. There's, to my knowledge, one doesn't exist.
And for me, it doesn't even necessarily have to be zombie. I want a game where I walk in there and I look around and I actually feel like I'm in the environment. And I can look. That. Well, I mean, but Ark is very cartoony. I want one where I look around and I think, well, what would I have to do to, like, get food? What would I have to do to survive? That wasn't it. And so, and where then you just start looking around and, okay, do I make a fishing pole? Do I, whatever it is, like, you start actually trying to figure out. It just seems like most survival games at this point are so cut and paste, as far as, oh, I hit this rock against a tree, and then I get wood. I think that there's so much more that it could be, and that'll be something interesting as these new technologies come out. Is that opening the door to maybe allow the game that we're looking for to come out?
Yeah,
because maybe the limitations have been there so much with hardware, and I mean, Ark, I think, tried to push it as much as they could as far as what they're capable of, or the servers are, and the engine is. But I'm wondering if now the door is opening to where we'll finally get the survival game that we want.
And and thank you, Deacon, for the subscription. We appreciate that. 5 months in a row he is subscribed to the channel. So thank you, Deacon. We appreciate that. Supa's making some good points in the chat here. A couple of things here. He said, I'd much prefer good open world PvP rather than offline raiding. That was H1Z1's biggest problem, is you'd log off for half an hour. You'd have the server manned 24/7. You'd log off for an hour. And within that hour, somebody was at your base and took everything you owned. I mean, and that's not an exaggeration. At one point with H1Z1, we literally had damn near full 24-hour somebody online hanging around the base. Almost for a good chunk of time, we had literally people in all these time zones. We had a schedule. It was all set up. And if there was ever a lull where somebody wasn't logged in, even to just go make something to eat, our stuff was gone. And that was just the worst thing. It was the offline rating. There was never anybody to kill. And you went on to say, honestly, the current state of survival games have pushed me away really hard. And between Ark and Rust, I have over 2,000 hours. That's not even counting H1Z1. And I think that's I still think, as I was just saying, there is room, there is a void for that kind of arcadey, casual, casual hardcore, of course, doesn't work together, but something that's in between that, where it's not Fortnite level arcadey, and it's not DayZ level, in terms of it's not a military simulator. There is still something that I don't know what the word for is it, but there's something that needs to be middle of the road in there, and I don't think anybody's done it yet. In my opinion, nobody's done it. So there's still room.
And so that's the thing, is it'll be interesting to see who tries to pull it off. I think that everything is really open at the moment. Everybody's kind of chasing that BR money at the moment.
Right,
These
rightfully
companies,
so.
yeah. And so I think they're trying to squeeze everything they can out of that, get all the hype, get all the players. But I think as soon as that dust settles, that we're going to see something come along and finally have some real games again. Because if you're not into BR and you're not into single player games, there's not really that much of a choice at the moment.
I absolutely, and I would even say in the single player market, there's the single player people would say there's a huge lull in that market too. They're waiting for good single player games. I think that's why the Fallout community was a little PO'd that the game will also have some online mechanics into it. But let's segue, Brian, because you mentioned BR games and BR games kind of chasing money. And I just wanted to mention this real quickly. I saw this article earlier this week on PC Gamer that in the first 90 days that Fortnite was on iOS, according to analytics firm Sensor Tower, they earned $100 million.
Yep.
Let me tell you, let me mind you. Mind you, the game is free.
Yep.
You do not pay for the game. 100% free. You go to the App Store, you search Fortnite, it says get, you click install, and 14 gigabytes later, it's on your phone. There is no payment required. Yeah. And in the first 90 days of just iOS, they made $100 million. So you're absolutely right that these companies are chasing the BR bug, and they should be.
I think we just have to wait for it. I just think we have to kind of wait for that to die out. And I think as soon as it does, I don't expect people to say, oh, well, we need to make a survival game because that's just what needs to happen right now. Screw income.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I don't
ask
see that
H1Z1.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but I think it's setting up the platform for us perfectly. Once this is done, the hype is kind of past. These companies are going to say, okay, now what? And then we're going to finally get something different. So I'm fine with it at the moment how it is, as long as something really cool comes here in the next year or two.
Well, I don't know if it'll be in the next year or two. I think this Fortnite, this battle royale bug is here to stay, in my opinion, because there's clearly a boatload of money to be made with that. Do you want to transition to the other BR game, or is there somewhere else you'd rather go?
Nope, that's fine with me.
All right, let's talk about PUBG because they did something this week that
speaking of money,
that pissed a lot of people off, and we'll get into it. And this is something. I mean, Epic should sue them because they're literally ripping off Epic's season. What's Fortnite's thing called? It's not called a season pass. It's called Battle Pass.
Battle Pass.
They're literally ripping off. And of course, we're saying this tongue in cheek because they are the PUBG Corp Bluehole is suing Fortnite over game mechanics, allegedly. So they have introduced what they're calling Battle Pass, and this is a way for you to. It's $9.99. It's valid for 30 days.
Isn't
I believe
the same price as
Fortnite's, but Fortnite's consists throughout seasons. So they've done two. I think Epic is on their third one now. I think maybe they're on their second one. They're on their second or third season, and each season they sell their pass system, and it's a way to pay $9 or $10 up front. But when you level through the game, you get more items than a regular free-to-play player does. If you're a person that cares about cosmetics, this is a very inexpensive way to unlock items.
It's almost identical to what they did in Rocket League. I mean,
yes,
Rocket League is the exact same thing. You have a pass, and it just allows you to get these better premium items, and they're cosmetic items.
So they were exploring how to offer premium content in news ways without limiting it to DLC, which is a big issue. For example, Battlefield has. They released DLC, new maps. I think they've released 4 or 5 DLCs for Battlefield 1, which I have, no DLC, and a couple of people I play with do have the DLC. Now, I think they let you hop into a party with people that do have it, but nevertheless, there's this imbalance there because you've got people that have paid for 5 DLCs and somebody like me that has just paid for the base game. and it's a struggle, and I agree with them with that. So they wanted to create a whole new reward experience. So they've decided to go with their system, that they're calling Event Pass. It became available last week. It was available on last Friday with the launch of the new map, and it's a way for you to purchase this $9.99 thing up front, and it essentially just allows you to level up quicker. You get XP, you get more items, and that's about it.
So the thing is, Joe bought it this past week, and he was complaining like it didn't do anything. But the thing is you have to play a bunch.
Yeah, and I believe
there's unlocking items.
And I believe there's some type of limit. It's a 30-day pass, I believe. So it's not. Fortnite seasons are, I think they're when you buy. Okay, this is how Fortnite does it. When you buy the season 2 battle pass, you get all of the season 1 skins, I believe, and then you can work your way up towards.
So you get all the previous season.
I believe so, and if that's incorrect, somebody please correct me on that. But I believe when we announced season 2 was coming out, I think that's what it said. We talk about too many games, so it's kind of hard to follow everything all the time. But I believe that's how Fortnite does it. And PUBG is taking a similar approach, but it only lasts for 30 days. And in this case, it's called Event Pass Sandhook, which is the name of their new map. It lasts from June 22nd to July 21st. That's the period of it. You buy this thing, it's $10. You don't need it to play the new map, and you just unlock skins. I mean, that's kind of how this goes. Now, we've been the first to say on this program time and time again that we're not anti-capitalists on this show. Yeah. There's a lot of people on the internet that like to complain about DLC and microtransactions and paying for things because for some reason making money is bad. Making money on the internet is bad. Look at any successful YouTuber's comment section. It's just people ripping them apart for being successful and monetizing videos. So that's not us. We don't do that. But this event system is such a freaking quick money grab. I mean, it's incredible. It's so blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
And they're getting called out. There is a post on their subreddit that I believe is the top. When I was reading it, it was the top overall post.
61.4 thousand upvotes.
Let me verify this real quick here. My internet's being a little slow. Thank you for the cheers there. Let's see. Post top all time. It is the second. It's the second. The top post is when they ripped off somebody's Xbox. Somebody made an Xbox ad for PUBG, and then they ripped it off, quote unquote. So that's the top post. This is the second with 61,000 upvotes from the user Ford117, and his title is, "We have supported this game since early access. PUBG has made over $730 million, which is kind of irrelevant to the conversation. Yet it's still, and this is the point. This is the point that's important. Yet it's still not optimized. Cheaters are rampant. Crates are locked behind keys. Even after charging $30 for the game, now they introduce a $9.99 event pass. They promised us no DLC, but while the maps are free, missions, reward, and progression will come at a cost. They asked us for feedback, but get upset when we're not singing their praises. If this were a free-to-play, none of us would care. It's just a shame, a damn stupid shame." And that's the key thing to remember here, ladies and gentlemen. Fortnite is free. So any money you put into Fortnite, there's no expectation of, oh my God, I paid for this game. How dare you charge me $10 for skins? You don't pay a penny to Fortnite. And clearly you don't have to, because they made $100 million over 3 months on iOS. They don't need to charge $10 or $15 or $20 for the game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But PUBG does. They charge for the game. He is accurate. Brandon promised no DLC, but they're locking rewards, and they've got this mission system and stuff behind this. Now, you don't have to buy it, but the point is well taken, is the game is not it's not optimized. The cheaters are rampant. Half of the player base has dropped off in the first 6 months of the year. Things are trending downward for PUBG.
I don't know if it's the time to start then bringing out things like this.
Not time to rattle the cage, I think, is how I describe it. This is not the time to rattle the cage. I don't know what's going on. Go ahead.
I mean, this is something that I've kind of harped on is people, when Fortnite came out, what made PUBG look bad is how fluid the movements were. I mean, I still, this is what I was saying about Miscreated. The movement system, it matters to people. People may not realize it, but you go in and you play Fortnite, and the reason that those players are able to move around and like build and do all that stuff so quickly, because everything is fluid. Yeah. Imagine trying to do that on PUBG. Like, we don't even consider it as a possibility in PUBG, because we look at that and it's like, well, how would I turn and quickly and spin and jump? And you just couldn't do it. Like, your jumping system is so crazy and everything's just so clunky. I think that that's part of the frustration is it doesn't feel smooth like Fortnite. It just still feels clunky. And I haven't played it a ton recently, but the last time I played it, it didn't feel improved. I mean, it felt very much, they have the vaulting system, which was an improvement, but the way the character actually moves, that's still very clunky. It's still very Arma-ish. And if anything, you shouldn't make a game like Arma. That's not the way. That's been one of the things that's really hurt DayZ, I think, is it was too much like Arma.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not a blatant ripoff, because it was Arma. But,
it started in Arma, but the thing is they made everything to work identical to Arma, to where you felt they were trying to create that really. But the thing is Arma works the way it was. All those things are like that in Arma because they didn't do a very good job with making that stuff. That's why it's so clunky and like that. They didn't purposely make the movement system the way it is in Arma. It's just because they never have gone in and fixed it. Don't make your new game with a whole new engine like Arma. Like, why would you make it? If you're going to make a new vehicle, don't say, well, we're going to copy this old one and then put all the negative things in it. Like, you only want to put in the positive things and improve it. And I feel like we've had a lot of games that are making their games like Arma clones, and you get in there. I mean, because if you look at it, Miscreated was heavily influenced by Arma. The movement system is very similar to Arma. This game is very similar to Arma, and you get in there and it's just, for me, it really takes away from the experience. The gunplay is good, but the movement's horrible.
This is the problem, and it's exactly what this Reddit post. It's not that they're doing this per se. It's that they've got all of these other blatant issues, and they're spending. Here's the thing. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're spending their time coming up with a system like this instead of dealing with the issues of hackers and everything.
Don't you think that they're in kind of a tough spot though? Like,
they're in a very tough spot.
The thing is, they can't really fix. I think they're worried about fixing the issues, because if they change the movement system and make it better, you'll have people that scream and yell that that's what's ruining the new, like, they changed anything in H1Z1 and then everybody's like, oh, you've ruined it. They changed the gunplay slightly. Oh, you've ruined the game. So I think that that's kind of a very dangerous thing for game developers to do, is to make changes, even if they're better, because the community gets so mad sometimes for making a change.
See, the community gets mad, Brian, and I'll agree with you. I mean, these communities are all incredibly toxic. Oh, Jesus. Just threw my pen. We asked Jan Zarek about this last week, about the toxicity of the community. I mean, at a certain point, the Conan community was cancer. I mean, they were ripping the devs apart on Twitter and Reddit constantly when the game first came out, because, first of all, the servers didn't work for like 2 weeks. It was a disaster. And that turned around. If they improve the movement system and it's actually better, see, that's the key here thing with this. This is what H1Z1's biggest problem was. They would do an improvement that wasn't an improvement. It just made the game worse. If PUBG actually improved the whatever system, the guns, the movement system, the aim down sight system, the jump system, whatever system, if they actually improved it, initially the community would bitch and complain like they always do. But if it's better over time, they'll go, oh, wow, okay, this actually isn't that bad. That's what H1Z1's problem was. It was, oh, we're changing the way the shotgun works. Well, now it doesn't work at all. You've been improving the shotgun for the last 2.5 years. Like the system isn't improving. So don't say it's improving. And that's, I think, the frustration with people is developers. This isn't just PUBG. Developers across the entire spectrum say they're doing improvements that aren't. It's not an improvement. It's just changing something that is not better. You call it an improvement. The community gets pissed off at you. You don't know how to handle it, so you revert it back. And then you can't make any changes to your game in the future because you're allowing the community to destroy any a type of innovation inside the game. It's very toxic, and it's a trade-off. I'm totally in agreement with you, Brian. But if it's a truly better system, people will initially bitch and complain and then stop.
I think that's what Conan did. I think that Conan didn't really say anything. They just in the background were fixing, and they let the player base die down. And then they came out with so many improvements that then the player base is going back up. Rather than trying to maintain that player base and say, oh, we're going to fix this and going everywhere, just fixing little things. They just said, all right, here's what we need to fix to make this game feel better. And they just didn't bother constantly saying, oh, we're going to fix this little thing, come back and play. We'll fix this little thing, come back and play. They just fixed a huge amount of things and then said, hey, here's the release. Come check it out. And look at their numbers have been doing much better.
Yeah.
And so I think that, but the thing is, PUBG is so scared about losing players that they're not going to let it die down for a bit and just keep improving the game and then say, all right, come back and check it out. They want everybody to be there the whole time, which kind of puts a hold on them to not be able to make those changes. So they're going to have to make a choice. I mean, how, are they going to lose another half of their player base? At what point do they?
Well, let's talk about that, because this article we've had in the notes for a couple weeks, and then it was just not recirculated, but this is a site we've actually referenced before, and I've tried to get them on the show about they were kind of the leading force on the all the Daybreak layoffs, massively overpowered, massivelyoP.com. And they did a hell of a job with that. And this is something that we've been chatting about now for we've chatted about it in Discord and stuff like that, but I don't think we've actually had the conversation on the show. And to just summarize this real quick, in January, they had 3.2 million concurrent players on Steam. 6 months from now, the game's drawn about 1.6 million concurrent users.
Still
incredible.
That's a big number.
Huge number.
Yeah.
But that's half of your player base.
You got to think of what we were looking at H1Z1. So this is still a lot of people playing, but they are dropping. And I've got to say that this has to do something with having other options and what people maybe consider better options. There is still a unique kind of feel when you play PUBG, right? The way that the scopes work and just that kind of the way that they did that, they captured very well. But there's enough choice out there to where people are like, oh, well, am I going to go play Realm Royale? Maybe go play some Fortnite. The only choice isn't PUBG like it was a year ago.
And that's important. That's super important.
I think that what can they do short of coming out with a much better player experience? Like they're putting out these maps, but maps I don't think are going to make people want to play.
No,
maps don't bring people in. Once you've played on a map a couple times, you're like, oh, okay, I'm over it.
Now this week hasn't been the best week for me because I was away for a couple days, and I'll be away for the rest of the week. So I haven't actually had a chance to play the new map. I know we've talked to a couple people that have, and they've been enjoying it. I did play it when it was on the, what they call the experimental server.
People are saying that the smaller map is a more enjoyable experience. So it's not just a map. They have made it to where it's a faster paced game, which maybe that's what it's going to take to kind of pull people back in. Yeah. I mean, it is a commitment to go in and play the full, because you can be in there up to 40 minutes if you make it to the very end on the regular map, the original PUBG map,
and not see a single person
for that. Yeah, and well, you may see people when you initially dropped, and then you'll maybe run into a person here and there by the time you get to the end. So I think people are wanting that because a faster paced. I mean, that's what people are wanting. I think people are over the running simulators. I mean, H1Z1 was a horrible running simulator.
Yeah, pretty bad.
and hide in
PV to
the bush
cranberry,
simulator.
PV to cranberry, PV to cranberry, over and over and over again. It was just an
So
awful run.
I think that people were more accepting of it when this one first came out, but I think that people are wanting that more fast-paced action, especially people that are streaming them, because what pushes this are streamers on Twitch.
Yeah.
And those players are totally over the let's run for 10 to 15 minutes and not see anybody. That really is hard for them to stream and do that. So they're wanting this faster pace, lots of gunplay, lots of gunfights. So I think that this is going to maybe cater a little bit more to that audience.
And I think so. So the map is available. It's called Sandhawk. You can go play it. You can check out the event pass.
It's a 4x4 kilometer map.
So it's significantly smaller than their current map, which is what, 16?
Yeah.
And
So
it's the
this
same
would be
amount of
about a
players.
quarter.
It's 100 players. 100 players 4x4, 100 players 16x16. Now they did. They saw this on Twitter. They were talking about false bans, and we actually, we kind of did a spotlight on our friend Kramit, I believe. Was
Yes.
it Kramit that was falsely banned?
Yes.
Who he says he was falsely banned from PUBG, and I actually haven't heard anything from him since then. He plays it now, so he must have bought it on a new account. So
he did. He told me he did. He rebought the game.
So they kind of go through this, and you know, this is an issue. I mean, false bans are an issue. False positives are an issue in any industry, anywhere. It's always false bans are always an issue. But it's been quite a long time that they haven't really said anything about it. So for players that were affected by this, they'll be granting 20,000 battle points to your account. That's how their compensation is working here. So if you log in between this was for a specific group of people. This is people that were
people logged in between June 16th
and June 17th.
And June 17th. Yeah.
So it's a small period of things, but if you were hit by this ban, I guess one of their systems went a little wacky and it just started false banning people. You may be entitled to compensation, as a famous infomercial would say. So 20,000 battle points is your reward. You know, I guess
at least they caught it.
Duck in our chat saying he was banned and was unbanned in 6 hours. So 6 hours of being banned, 20,000 battle points. I mean, if that's your thing, I'm sure it's a good trade-off.
$9.99, so you're set.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't care about battle points at all. So I don't know if it's a big deal, but that was their issue. They corrected pretty quickly, and that's their compensation. They should have given everybody free event pass. That would have been the way to do it.
Yeah.
Really just butter them right up. But hey, you know, I'm not a comedian.
It's like the crack dealer. Just gotta give them a little taste.
Hey,
that battle pass for life.
It's good. Yeah, battle pass for life. Is that all we got on PUBG?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to go ahead and announce a game giveaway as we are?
Yeah, let me get it. Go ahead and move on to something really quick, and then we'll.
All right. Well, let's just quickly do a kind of an update for a game that we talk about here quite frequently, and that is Ark Survival Evolved. Updates on them are kind of
few and far
slowing
between
down. Yeah, and it's because the game's released. So
they just released the announcement for this new expansion.
Yes,
so I think they tend to get their head down and work on something, and then all of a sudden, then they'll do some posts or fixes afterwards. But I think they're really pushing towards, because that's going to be releasing not too long,
exactly,
a couple months.
So this is an update that they did on the 26th, actually today. 280.112. They added the following commands. They added a couple commands to the servers. They fixed a client soft lock when teleporting to someone with tech gear. Fixed a server crash related to carrying passengers. Small tribes can only merge into another tribe if we have an available slot, or if there's an available slot. Updated the bionic dinos to have unfertilized bionic eggs, and added the wyvern bone costume to the archaeology event cook pot. So not anything crazy with Ark. And I think we talked last week about how we won't expect to see anything kind of crazy here for the next little while.
Until the actual release.
Yeah, until the actual release. So But we'll just continue to bring these updates as they roll out. But that's Ark Survival Evolved.
Very good. All right. So if in chat you want to type !giveaway, and this will be a 60 points raffle, which means you just have to have been listening for 1 hour. So if you've been listening for 1 hour, you'll be able to enter for this. And I'm going to be giving away a copy of Ruiner. So Ruiner, it's everything's on sale right now. So normally it's I think $20, and it's $9.99 at the moment. So makes my game feel cheap, but hey.
Well, maybe you're tuning into this on YouTube or listening to the RSS podcast feed after the fact, and you're wondering, wow, I'd love to join in on these game giveaways. Well, we'd love to have you. You can tune in every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/infection podcast. Quick programming note, we will not be live next Tuesday. Brian and I have to work out a schedule for that. I've got some work stuff I've got to do the 3rd and 4th of July, so I will be unavailable Tuesday evening. Most likely will be next Monday, or we'll record it at some point over the weekend and maybe air it back on Tuesday. But we will not be here next Tuesday at 7, most likely next Monday. But Brian and I will kind of hash that out here over the next couple days. So what you need to do is follow us on Twitter @InfectionCast, join our Discord, and with that, you can go ahead and we'll give you all the information for that. So most Tuesdays, I would say 98% of Tuesdays, we're here at 7 p.m. And also streaming on YouTube Live. Hello to Marco in the YouTube chat. Thanks for tuning in this week. Okay.
All right. So yeah, we will give that away here at the end of the show. So
yes. And where to?
All right. So let me get my notes up here. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the Long Dark. So this is one where I have three sets of show notes, but I think we skipped over it just because we had some really busy shows.
Okay.
And I don't think we actually showed, there's a video in here, which is they did a pretty big content update. This is one that actually has released. So unlike some other games where they say we're out of alpha, don't expect any updates, these guys have been putting in additional content and making improvements to the game even after being out of alpha. So I think that this game, if it is on sale right now, which it probably is, if you're interested in single player survival, this is a very good single player survival game.
Is this video narrated?
Yes.
Okay. So,
yes. So if you want to go and play it, and then we can make some comments afterwards, but he goes into very good descriptions of the recent changes.
All right. This is The Long Dark.
Hello everyone, this is Raphael, Creative Director on The Long Dark. Thanks for checking in on the next update to our survival mode, which we're calling Vigilant Flame. In Vigilant Flame, we've added a few things that have been long requested by the community. A new, entirely wilderness region, and a major overhaul of our cooking system. Hushed River Valley is a multi-leveled region that connects to Mountain Town, extending some of the same difficult terrain you see around the town of Milton. Hushed River Valley is full of waterfalls, rivers and streams, and lots of cliff areas. We've used Hushed River Valley as a way to prove out some new techniques in environment creation, trying to find ways to create more layers and variety in our environments so that our landmark-based approach to navigation continues to throw new and interesting challenges at our players. There are no human-made structures in Hushed River Valley, so you need to be on the lookout for natural shelters, whether they be the hollowed-out trunks of a large tree, a rock formation providing a natural windbreak, or ice caves. Despite being a highly challenging wilderness region, Hushed River Valley isn't entirely without hope. Keep your eyes open for mysterious signal fires that might lead you to useful shelter locations, and make sure you explore every nook and cranny, behind every rock and waterfall, in your search for supplies. For years now, our players have had to watch a progress bar represent the experience of cooking food and preparing water in the game. Since the food you find, kill, prepare, and eat is such a big part of the survival experience, we've been trying to find ways to make it more engaging for our players. Replacing the progress bar-based system required an overhaul of several other systems, but we're happy to share that we're rolling out the first iteration on a new manual cooking system. It works as you'd expect it to. You place cookable items on hot surfaces, namely stones near burning campfires or on the surface of a lit cook stove, and wait for them to cook. Each food item requires a different amount of time. If you remove the item too soon, it'll be undercooked and eating it could result in food poisoning. If you wait too long, you could overcook the item to the point where it becomes an inedible burned lump, thus wasting the valuable food and fuel resources you spent on it. Since you can cook multiple items at once, you now have to manage multiple timelines. We've provided a few helpers for this, including the ability to pass time until individual items are completed, but you'll still need to keep an eye on multiple items and timelines. Preparing water works much the same way. We've added 2 cooking tools, the pot and recycled can. Both can be used to cook food and prepare liquids, and each has different properties relating to cooking volumes or susceptibility to burning food or burning off liquids. We hope you enjoy how we've overhauled the cooking system. We'll be reviewing your feedback to see how we can continue to improve the system, as well as to apply the real-time approach to some of our other common time-based actions. As we've shared in some of our developer diaries, we're adding a new narrative collectible to survival mode in the form of buffer memories. Think of these as the last documents or images stored in a computer's memory before all the technology around Great Bear and beyond was suddenly rendered inert by the mysterious aurora. Now, when the aurora appears at night, you might find some computer terminals display snippets of notes, emails, reports, information that provides more world background, and could in the future point to hidden locations and supply caches. We've implemented a first series of buffer memories in Vigilant Flame across a series of specific locations and plan on spreading more around the world in the future. Just keep in mind that one location may have more than one memory to offer. You can track discovered memories in the collections section of your journal. As a result of our manual cooking work, you can now place items directly from the radial menu. This means that you no longer necessarily have to go into your pack to drop items for later placement. Radial placement will be useful for quickly arranging various items, and is something we plan to use for more gameplay-oriented placement in the future. For now, the primary benefit is placing items from your food radial directly on campfires or stoves for cooking, or placing pots and recycled cans on cooking surfaces so that you can cook food or melt snow for water. In addition to these 4 main features, we've made dozens of bug fixes, made performance improvements across the game, and added several minutes of new survival mode exploration music. We hope you really enjoy Vigilant Flame, and we look forward to reading your feedback in the community hub at hinterlandforums.com, in our Steam forums, and through our social media channels. You may also notice that we've added a mailing list sign-up form to the game's main menu. If you'd like to be notified of update news and general information about the Long Dark and other goings-on at Hinterland, please take a moment to sign up for this newsletter. Thanks again, and be safe out there, survivors of the quiet apocalypse.
All right, that's the Long Dark, and a pretty extensive update video there. This is what I would call a very hardcore survival. You could say those cooking times on that food were legitimate, like 55 minutes of IRL time to cook whatever that was, meat or something like that. Steak. Yeah. I mean, you're so very, very hardcore. Not too, it's way too hardcore for me to even be interested
it's
in
not,
it.
yeah, it's not a casual.
But I know
game.
you're interested in this game and you like this style of game.
Yeah, they've done a really good. They have multiple modes. A lot of what they showed was a survival mode, and so if you're into that type of a game, they keep. He's saying that's in game time, so it's not that long. It's not a full hour.
It's not. I thought this game was minute to minute.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then I'm incorrect.
And so on here, yeah, this, as I said, they're out of alpha. So all these things they've been doing just as updates to the game. They've added a lot of content since the game has been out of alpha. So right now it's $7.49 on sale. So if you're into survival games, I think this would be a really good buy on the Steam sale time. So it's definitely worth $7.49. They have the open world survival mode, and then they have one that's actually a story. It takes you through so that you can play as well. So check it out. $7.49.
Yes, I'm reading on the time conversion.
Yeah, because the game is really tough. The thing is in the game, your calories, because it bases it on calories and warmth and all this. So you're finding clothes in the game to try to stay as warm as possible, and then you're having to eat a certain number of calories because as it gets colder just to keep your body heat up and things like that. So that within an hour you'd be dead of real time.
So during the night in game, which is 9 hours, each hour lasts approximately 4.5 minutes of IRL time. The
So that'd be about 4.5 minutes.
The day, which takes 15 hours of in-game to play through, each hour lasts about 13.5 minutes of IRL time.
Okay.
This is from a post on Reddit a year ago. That's interesting. So that's interesting. I was not aware of that. Sorry for the fake news, ladies and gentlemen. I thought this was I thought this was the game that had the IRL time.
No, but yeah, this one, like the time is because you're trying to get enough food and stuff because it gets really cold at night. So like they have kind of a rush of, oh, I need to find wood and I need to find all these things to be able to survive the night.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is at a much faster rate, but that kind of keeps the game moving along pretty fast.
Gotcha.
So, all right. So one more kind of video heavy, but do you want to move on to Rust? He has a video of some new stuff they've added. It's been a little while.
Yeah, we could
a couple weeks since they put out a video, but this is the most recent updates that they've done. They haven't put out an official update for a little while.
What is the title of this video?
I think this one is, let's see, Rust, RHIB new boat and custom map SDK.
Perfect. That was just the stall time I needed to get the video pulled up. So
this
here,
20-second update. They 20-second.
Yep, this was last Friday that this video was the update was published. So we'll check out our friend Shadowfrax. We'll do the quick update, and then we'll be back.
Greetings, survivors and friends, Shadowfrax here, and if you're suffering withdrawal symptoms after there not having been an update vid last week, then I'm sorry for going on holiday, but that's another story for another time. I'm back now though with a well-rested bonus and ready to stuff you firmly back in the loop. And first of all, as you may or may not have heard, yet another form of aquatic transport has splashed down on the staging branch, although it's not yet fully functional. Introducing the Rahib, which is of course Klingon for when will this game have pies, but coincidentally also an acronym for Rigid Hull Inflatable Boat, which funnily enough is exactly what it is. It's a bit rough around the edges, doesn't have fuel consumption or stuff like that at the time of writing, and doesn't spawn on its own yet, although you can make one appear if you're an admin on a staging branch server with spawned Rahib in console. What it does have though is enough seats for 6 friendly sailors and a small wood storage up front with 12 slots for your ill-gotten gains. I'll be getting more info on this as time moves on, but it looks like it may well be sailing onto main branch servers come the next Forced White on July the 5th. As the old saying goes, you wait for one boat for ages and then you get 2 at once. And then another one turns up a bit later, because unlike the others, it's made out of driftwood, old chairs, and anxiety. Now, as you might remember if you've been watching, there's also a 2-man makeshift canoe in the works, for which, as you can see, animations are being sorted out. But, unlike the other 2, this one runs on Newman power and will require a bit more effort and equipment to get going, as you'll need to use a paddle. This will be a separate tool, seemingly, that players will have to physically move the boat along with, maybe cooperatively, and that I think we might also be able to use as a murder weapon. That's about all the info I can glean at the moment, but by the look of things, it may not be too much longer before we find out more. Talking of tools, some other news that you may have missed last week is that a jackhammer is also being made now, which will be the equivalent of the chainsaw, but for nodes, presumably. Here's how it's looking, and it appears to be pneumatically powered, so not sure if it'll be rechargeable at a workbench like the diving cylinder or what. Something else? I'm sure we'll find out more on soon. As you've probably heard, over on staging, a compass has now been added to the top of the HUD, very similar to a couple of other popular games that you might know. Fortnite. It's not a craftable item, but rather a feature that can be either switched on or off in the options menu, or bound to a key, which can either toggle it or only display it when held down. Now, all this happened while I was away, but I believe some people really like the feature and others don't. although if you're in the latter group, then you've still got a couple of weeks to get used to it before it merges to main, and I'm sure by then the gag reflex will have calmed down a bit. Other stuff that's been happening over on staging is that an exploit with barbecues which allowed them to be used to pass loot through walls has been fixed, small refineries can no longer be fully submerged underwater, and junk pile scientists have developed personal space issues and will now turn homicidal if you get too close. Over on Happis, puzzles are in the process of being added, however, a lot of the older monuments are in need of an overhaul to their layout and general polish before this can be completed, and so it probably won't be ready for the next forced wipe. Swinging by Bandit Town, it looks like things are going swimmingly there. At the moment, the dredge structure is just being wrapped up, and after that, the scene will be ready to have gameplay added to it. All being well, I think it might be ready for the July patch, and I can't wait to get my frog boots on and find out exactly how scummy the inhabitants will be. What's that, Mr. Froggy Boot? Yes, I did just mention you. Oh yes, the SDK. I almost forgot. Thanks. This week, after various recent threats, an initial version of the Rust World software development kit was released by Facepunch, which is the first step in allowing the creation of tools with which the community can make their own custom maps for the game. It is early days, so the warning is that you should only use it if you enjoy pain and suffering. But of course, this is Rust, and we speak no other language. My spies tell me that members of the community are already busy at work creating editors so that non-programming types can let their filthy imaginations loose and churn out various freaky islands for us to murder each other on, and I can't wait to see what they build. Exciting times! And finally, in case you didn't know, the Steam Summer Sale opened yesterday, and Rust is currently 75% off. Hacking has never been so affordable. Yay! Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments, please. This channel is now mostly supported by my amazing patrons, the top ones of whom you can see on screen now, so thanks, chaps. Do come join me over on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group, and I shall catch you all soon. But in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
And as Shadowfrax says, go support his Patreon if you enjoy his videos that he creates. As you can tell, lots of time goes into producing those videos. I gotta say, his sarcasm is spot on with how I feel. It's a very dry humor, which I am quite a fan of. So that's I think that's Rust, right?
Yes, and so. Definitely keep your eye out. You know, you mentioned some upcoming things, but I think it'd be interesting to see some of the improvements as they allow people to kind of mod and make changes on the game. But you saw it with him, you know, that's kind of the ongoing joke of the Rust community. And
yeah, well,
I like just comment about the hackers.
The hackers. It's never been so cheap to hack.
Never been so affordable.
Yeah, exactly. So,
at least they recognize it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So one thing, if you just want to play, 7 Days to Die. Actually, we don't need to play a video for this.
Okay.
But I was going to mention there is a video on there. It's at 30 minutes long.
Yeah, we're not playing.
And it's I was going to say we could talk over it, but there's not very much to talk about, so there's no point in playing the video. But I will have a link if you want to go and watch the video that Joe put out. And
Joel
put out, and it has just a lot of the. A lot of some of the new vehicles. So the new vehicles that they're going to have in this next patch, just some of the weapons and just the new look that it kind of has. So if you want to see what the Alpha 17 is going to look at, it's a really good video. They're getting close to being feature complete. And then after that, they will move on to doing bug fixes and kind of polishing it, which you don't usually think of 7 Days to Die and polish,
no.
But they'll be polishing it a little bit. They put in all the new trees, so those are in there if you want to see what the environment looks like with the bigger, newer trees. They've redone the water and improved that quite a bit. So there are some nice environment effects that they've put in. So it's worth kind of skimming through the video just to see. But he doesn't really talk about anything drastic that I don't think we've mentioned up into this point. So,
all right, well, yeah, check that out. Those videos are always good in-depth topics or really good in-depth explanations of what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we move to Realm Royale?
Yeah, for sure.
So Realm Royale is a game that we've been talking about here the past couple of weeks. It's the newest BR game to the scene. We'll have those numbers here, current players, in just a couple of minutes. But they've done a couple of updates here over the past couple of days, and this one specifically from Saturday, I believe, when this was published, is forge class weapons with you can forge a class weapon with 200 shards and 2 chicken leg costs, similar to before, just a higher cost. So now you need 2 chicken legs to forge your class weapon, and this is all part of the balancing that they're trying to do. I think it's pretty obvious. Anybody that's played the game for any period of time, it is pretty easy to get your forged legendary class weapon. And the way they're making this is the way you get chicken legs is by killing people. So, or killing people that have killed people. So you're gonna have to at least have 2 kills or kill somebody.
You can't hide in the bush all game and
no, you can't,
forge thing,
because the class weapon is super OP, and I don't say that in a negative way, but it's OP for a reason, and now requires 200 shards and 2 kills to forge it. So I think that's a step.
I think
in
it's
the
a
right
smart
direction.
game mechanic.
That's very smart.
This forces people to play and be active. You can't hide. You can't run away and kind of at the end of the game come in just to try to be in a high ranking.
Well, I think that's PUBG's issue, and that's how I think if you watch people play PUBG on Twitch, not the big guys, but if you watch, just scroll through the PUBG Twitch, and if you get towards the the bottom of the list or lower down in the list, you see that's a very common play style is, loot, skirt around, maybe some interactions, and then kind of come in at the end and maybe try to secure a win. That's a very common play style in PUBG, and the game doesn't just
2-kill game. They're making it very difficult to win with a 2-kill game, and look at how many people have won PUBG with a 1-kill at first place.
H1's even had the same issue. You could just kind of hover around until it mattered, and then go. Realm Royale has caused that to almost not be an issue.
I think that they've looked at the problem and they're like, how can we solve it? And I think that this is a very good way of doing it, and it creates that constant action that people are looking for.
Yeah, and I'm a very conservative player when it comes to these games. Anybody that's played a game with me knows I'm very conservative. I don't like just kind of going guns ablazing. I tend to try to hover back, but Realm Royale, I'm very like, let's go get a kill. Let's go to the next town.
You're like, I need to get these things for my recipe. I need to craft. We need to find more people to kill, which is what they should be wanting. I mean, that's what you should be wanting in a game like this.
Yes, and they have
I think that too long we've had ones that discouraged it.
They've absolutely discouraged it. And then you've got a player like me, who I would classify as very conservative, actively seeking out a gunfight. And it also helps that the games are so damn quick that 4 minutes after I die, I can be back in another game, geared up and ready to go. We're working on the next group of people. So I think that's really cool. They now allow the crafting of non-class legendary random weapons for 120 shards and 1 chicken leg cost. So you can craft a weapon. It won't be a legendary. So this is, I believe, the old legendary class weapon was 120 and 1 chicken. So they bumped that up, and now they'll give you a random one. The Zeppelins, which is like their bus thing, will drop single random non-class legendary weapons, and weapon chests will have a very small chance to drop non-class legendary weapons now. So they've done some tweaking. I think people have been pretty vocal about their lack of balance at the start, which there was a clear lack of balance. And this is their attempt at trying to fix that, which I can appreciate. Obviously, patching is important. Getting that stuff figured out is important. And I think that's about it. This was done. This was on Twitter a couple days ago. Posted to Steam yesterday.
And then they said they'll be doing another patch later this week. So
so you can go ahead.
There should be another balance patch.
Yep, and you can now hold up to 3 chicken trophies. You could only hold 1 before. Now that you need to craft 2, you can now hold up to 3. So you can go ahead and do that. Realm Royale. It's free, so there's no reason you should not be at least giving it a try if you're into the BR genre.
Yep, and this game is probably the one that I think would be able to compete against Fortnite the closest.
I would agree.
Gameplay is very good. They've done a really good job with the mechanics. I think that this could pull people away, or just kind of have some
options.
Which one I'm going to play? Yeah, I'll this time I'll go play Realm Royale. In an hour, I'll go play some Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that this leads into that, where Fortnite and like PUBG or Fortnite and and H1Z1 aren't really that balanced. Like they're such different games. It's like either I don't feel like one at all, and I'm gonna go play the other. These ones you can kind of say, oh, I don't care. Let's just do one of each.
Well, it's nice to have if if somebody like me. It seems my place, my streaks tend to come and go in phases. I'll for a couple games I'll be really on, and then some other nights it's just like, damn, I can't do anything. That's how it's nice to have that alternative. You know what? Tonight's not a Fortnite. Tonight Fortnite's just not doing it. Let's hop over and play some Royale. It's nice to have that option.
Yeah, very good. All right, so I think we have a kind of a wrap up story here, and this is from PC Gamer, and it is about Friday the 13th. So
yes.
We kind of saw this coming, but according to them, Friday the 13th gets permanently axed.
I love how how they use that word.
Yes. So this is something that we thought, who knows? They kept saying maybe something will happen.
Now, real quick,
I gotta
cut you off. There's a controversy over the licensing of F-13. The original maker of the movies, he's claiming that he wasn't employed by F-13 and he was a contractor, meaning he owns the intellectual property. F-13, the game, is licensed through the Friday the 13th franchise, but he's now claiming their intellectual property, which in turn is now bleeding down to Friday the 13th, not being able to add any new content, or they're at the risk of being sued out of existence. So that's kind of a quick summary of it. So what does PC Gamer have to say?
They said it is not possible to add new content like original locations or counselors, even if it's unrelated to Friday the 13th. We can't add any content whatsoever, not even a new tree or rock. So he says we can only focus on console dedicated servers, bug fixes, and maintenance. So, what this is saying is they are permanently ending development for new content. So they can't add any content. So this is something where that they've admitted. They kept saying originally a week ago that they were going to fight, and they were going to keep holding on. But they said this is the painful truth. We know that this isn't the news you wanted to hear. In which the situation were different, but it's the painful truth. So this, you can play up to this point. You can play it. They did add some single player stuff. You can play it, but there will be nothing new. And they've admitted to it that they're not going to pretty much fight this anymore. I think they've accepted that the ruling is going to be the ruling, and they're not going to be able to get past it. So they have officially said that there is. He said even if it was resolved, that development will not continue. So even if in court they were able to work something out, they're not going to continue development on this game.
And I think
that is the final answer.
Yeah, and I don't. It's tough. Obviously, this game was. We were very vocal about how it was clearly for the F-13 enthusiasts, but they were working on things. It's not like they were just letting the game sit there. They were at plans, even though this stuff just didn't matter to our group so much. But they were adding new. They were looking to add new JSONs and new takedowns and new maps and all that other stuff. And not that I don't want to put words in their mouths, but this probably isn't the worst thing that could have happened to this project. The game was not, I don't think it was a whopping success. The player base struggled in terms of numbers. We talked about it for weeks. The player base was never very strong. It had its dedicated people, but it didn't become a viral game. People weren't actively playing it constantly. And that was a problem. So maybe this is a kind of a good, all right, let's move on to the next project, because this project literally we can't do anything with. So maybe there's a silver lining in all of it, is that instead of letting the game instead of them just kind of doing little updates here and there for the next year and a half, maybe, they just kind of, rip the Band-Aid off quickly, continue to maintain whatever needs to be maintained, servers and stuff, and then start working on the next project. So maybe there is a silver lining in all of this. It's kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't know if my point's coming across.
They could have sat and beat this drum for a while longer. I think.
I'm saying, but even if they weren't, I mean, even if this whole thing wasn't brought up.
Well, I'm agreeing with you in that I think that this is putting to an end what would have been kind of dragged out over a period of time. I don't think that there was going to be enough significant improvements to the game to make it worth going back and playing again.
Yeah.
And rather than them do what we saw with H1Z1 and Just Survive, what we called H1Z1, just, we're going to fix this, we're going to fix that. It was dragged out over a long period of time, and we're nowhere better for it 2 years later.
Yeah.
I think they would have probably done that exact same thing. Sure, they would have put some new kills in, but I think they've added what they wanted to add. They have the first person experience, the house that you can walk through, all that stuff is in there. Just treat it like this is a done game and be like, here's what people can play. Even if it's just a single player experience, it's more of an homage to Friday the 13th itself at this point.
Yeah.
They need to get over because there's other games that do a much smoother experience of this kind of, chase and hide game. So I just don't know. They didn't do it well enough to be like, hey, this is the defining game for this market. If you're into that kind of a game, go play one of the other ones, and you'll probably have a better experience. If you're really into Friday the 13th, why would you care about more of that online play? So that's my opinion. I mean, maybe people have different opinions, but it doesn't really matter because the game is pretty much done.
Yeah, the game they're no longer going to be doing anything to the game. So a sad ending for Friday the 13th. It does suck. I mean, we joked about the game in the past, but it absolutely sucks that it's being shut down off of a claim of intellectual property when there really isn't any. There hasn't been any. Hasn't been any litigation, and there won't be probably for a long period of time. And they're kind of caught in the unfortunate crossfire of it. So in that respect, it definitely sucks.
Yeah. All right. So we don't have a lot of time, but do you have a preference on one of these final things we cover?
Go for it, and then we'll do current players and wrap it up.
All right. So actually, I'll cover two things really quick. One thing is We Happy Few is getting a review. Remember, they were banned from releasing in Australia.
Yep.
And so they have they're in negotiations, I guess. Australia is doing another review of the game. So we should know, and that's happening right now. So we should know here pretty soon whether or not this will be allowed to be sold in Australia. So as soon as that's done, hopefully by next week, it's July 3rd. So we won't know. So in 2 weeks, we'll have the news of whether or not that is allowed to be sold in Australia. And then they have a new release date. So on the 28th of August.
Okay. Cool.
So 20th of August, so about 2 months from now, they'll be releasing We Happy Few. Another game I wanted to suggest, and my tip of the week is going to be talking about this game, but it's Survive.io. I've played it a bit, and I know Donnie's played it quite a bit. He streams it quite a bit, but this is a game that's free. It's like an overhead simplified view of a battle royale. You can play it in your browser. You can play it on a tablet. You can play it on a phone, and you actually play with everyone else. It's a multiplayer game, but I was going to recommend, just try it out. It's really fun to play. You look at it, it's like, oh, this is really simple, but it's a very challenging, fast-paced game. Maybe you're sitting around waiting for something. You can go and in 5 minutes get a quick game in. And so it's Survive, surviv.io. We'll have a link to it that you can check it out. And it's, if you guys play it, you guys like it, you should let me know. It has multiplayer, so you actually can play with groups of 4 on it.
Cool. And
it's cross-platform compatible. So if you want to play on your tablet and your friends playing on your PC, you can do that.
All right. And you said you'll
have some other stuff that maybe we'll move on. We'll carry over to next week.
Okay. And you said you'll have that in tip of the week. Is that correct?
Yes. So that'll be what tip of the week is about. So
all right.
Enjoy it.
Well, on that note, we will move over to everybody's favorite segment. I mean, I know tip of the week and yada yada video games, but the real important game here, or the real important segment here rather, is current players. We go through what people are playing, how many people are playing them, and we let you know. Let's start with H1Z1, King of the Kill. Or it's also known as H1Z1. 3,093 currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 5,770, with a 70 peak of 9,274. Arc got a boost this week. Currently playing 42,224. The 24-hour peak, 63,892, with a 70 peak, almost 80,000, 79,592. Strong numbers there from Arc. Moving on over to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Current playing 255,198. Your 24-hour peak, 1,520,207. And your 7-day peak, 1,688,343. And finally, we'll continue to track this for the next couple of weeks. Realm Royale, still holding in there pretty strong. Currently playing 20,787 with a 24-hour peak of 33,183. And your 7-day, 51,880. And that is going to do it for current players. And we'll continue to do current players as we've done each and every week.
It's pretty surprising on the H1Z1 numbers. I mean, they have tanked. I think they've accepted it's 5,000.
Well, this is
3,000.
This is the first time in a very long time that the 7-day peak has been below 10,000. That number is typically over 10,000. And
I think people are over that game. They're over it.
I think, yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, they've got a PS4 version, yada yada yada. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think people are over it.
Yep, I think there's a lot better option. That's the thing. So when you've got games like Realm Royale and you've got Fortnite on console, that probably plays much better. I mean, they did improve the console play as far as the controls and everything, but it's not as good as some of the other games that are in the same genre. So.
Not even close.
All right, so I think we will do Tabletop Simulator.
Okay, perfect.
And so I'll have to see if we can get Saul to maybe GM a game for us, but we always have a good time. If you don't have Tabletop Simulator, that's one reason I want to do it this week is because people say, oh, I don't have it. Well, there's no excuse because it is on sale. So there's no excuse to say I can't be there. We play this game on a regular basis. There's so many different types of games to play on it. So you may say, oh, I don't like playing this one game, but we play a different game every time. And there's thousands. And we play Uno to kind of wrap the evening up to relax.
Oh, yeah, relax. Let's wind down. Let's play arguably one of the most infuriating games of all time, Uno, to just, sit back, crack your knuckles, have a cold one, and play Uno, and you're just screaming obscenities at people because Brian is hitting you with 3 +4s in a row because he's a jerk. Oh, that's how I enjoy to spend my Friday nights. And then go to bed at 2:00 in the morning, pissed off because Brian's a jerk. But enjoy. It's a good time.
But it is a fun game. So we'll pick out a good game. Maybe people can give some suggestions through the week. So by Friday night, if you have a suggestion, maybe look through the list of games. If you go to their community tab, and then you can check out on their workshop. And on the workshop, they have thousands of games to pick from. So kind of look at it, make sure the ratings are good on it. That means that it fully works. But give some suggestions in our Discord throughout the week, and then we'll pick what game we think might be the most interesting.
And we'd love to have you GM the game if you know it well. So
yeah, if there's a game that you know really well, we're totally open to having people GM games.
Yep.
And this is a multiplayer. It is a lot of fun. We've had a lot of enjoyable hours inside of tabletop.
Yes, sirree.
All right. So tip of the week's where we go through and we'll either give a general gaming tip or a specific one. This week, as I kind of hinted before or said directly, we're going to be doing it about survive.io, and that's surviv.io. So this is tip of the week. All right. So survive.io is an excellent game that gives that battle royale feel, but you can play it on any device, and you actually are playing with other people, as I said. So here's some tips to help kind of get you started in the game. first of all, the game has an excellent cover system. And what you can do is you'll see trees that are spread throughout the map. And your character, I mean, it's an overhead kind of a simple type of a view of the players. And so if you go underneath of a tree, they are semi-transparent. So if someone looks very closely, they might be able to see you, but they would have to be very closely looking. And so it's an excellent way. Maybe you've taken damage and you need to heal up. You can go in and wait inside of a tree, use your bandages. Perhaps you want to ambush another player. You can get underneath that tree and just wait for them to maybe walk by. I did this actually last week and get some shots off on another player. Also, you need to keep your eye out for, like on the screen right now, he just picked up an 8x scope. And what this does is it actually allows you to see farther. So you can see his area of visibility has increased quite a bit. So it starts out with 1x, usually very common. You'll see a 2x scope. And then what you're seeing on the screen right now is an 8x scope. And you can see it just has opened up the area that you can see so much that it gives you a huge advantage. And so this is something, there's 3 levels of armor. There are or a whole bunch of different guns. So you want to look at the DPS on those. And then there's all the different levels of scope. And it's a very fun game to play. You'll be surprised. You go in there and just make sure you make yourself play maybe 3 games. And I think that you'll be surprised that how much fun you have with this game. It's totally free, very simple controls, and it's very challenging. It's much faster than a PUBG game and much less of a commitment. So that is tip of the week.
All righty. Thank you very much for that, Brian. And
yes. All right. So we ready for this final raffle?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go ahead and roll for this. And Ducky RB. So Ducky RB been talking in chat throughout the whole show, and we always appreciate when people come in and are active in our chat, and we're able to read those and make comments and incorporate that into the show. So thank you very much. And I will send you a message here pretty soon that will have a code for you.
Yes, and obviously you can join us live. We're here most Tuesdays. We won't be here next Tuesday, but we're here most Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast, and on YouTube, search for Infection Podcast as well. Game of the week, Tabletop Simulator. I unfortunately will not be around, but Brian will be, and we'll have a full group there. I'm not, because we always have a full. We had 8 people playing Spyfall at like 1 o'clock in the morning, or Friday night. And then
it was we had a great time.
You had a long night.
First, we had a lot of people playing Rocket League. We had a really good time with Rocket League. And then we played tabletop, and that was a lot of fun.
And then I had some
that was a really good game night.
It was, and I had a great conversation with my friend Ross afterwards. Brian was also in on that conversation. He had a great time. So it was all together a very successful Friday night. And if you're new here, whatever, check out our website for the Discord and all that stuff. We had a great group of guys and gals in the Discord, and everybody's super friendly. And there's conversations going on. You want to hear what's going on at Deacon's Medical Records? Join the Discord. Everybody's super cool. We love hanging out with everybody. So go ahead and join in there. And there's conversation. Because we have so many different time zones, all times of the day, there's people talking and doing their thing in Discord. So join us.
Very good. All right. Well, if you want to find me on the internet, at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. We have on there a contact form if you need to get a hold of us. Also, we have a link to our Discord if you'd like to join and to hang out with us throughout the week. If you want notifications of our live show, make sure you join our Steam group. And then we've got pretty much everywhere else for show notes and ways that you can view or listen to us. And if we're not where you want us to be, make sure you send us a message. Contact infectionpodcast.com, and then we can get listed at your favorite listening or viewing location.
Yes, and follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast. We'll give you an update on next week's program. If you missed episode 179, our interview with Jens Erik, highly recommend it. Even if you're not a super big fan of Conan, I think it's a great interview. Jens has been very cool with us. We've interviewed him a couple times, including PAX East last year. And it's interesting to hear more. We asked him more questions about the industry as a whole and how Funcom's decision-making worked with Conan. Very cool story. Even if you're not a big Conan fan, I thought it was a really good interview. So go ahead and check that out. It's on our website and on YouTube. Brian, thank you very much. And I'll talk to you here next week. Alrighty, folks. Well, as we've been talking about, we will not have a show next Tuesday, live at least. It may release on Tuesday. It may be on YouTube on Tuesday, but it'll be recorded a couple days earlier. I have some work obligations I've got to do revolving around the 4th of July. So I'll be doing that. Of course, check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.